So I've got a quick question before I start this review. Would you unsubscribe to me if I started my videos by saying, "Hey there, beer geeks"? Would you really? But anyway, just putting it out there, putting the feelers out. So this is the third and final beer from the first fanzine box from Brewdog. The Zephyr for me so far has been the best one. The Jet Trash, as I said in my review, it tastes like something you could get on the supermarket shelves. But the Nebula just sounds pretty damn good. So it is, of course, a Russian Imperial Stout, clocking in at 10%. I've not eaten anything today. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, so I thought, what better way to start my day properly, even though I was drinking last night and still feel a little bit delicate, than having a nice kind of Imperial Stout and sitting in the garden, watching everyone else slave over said garden. But yeah, the Russian Imperial Stout, clocking in at 10% ABV, IBUs are 70, and the malts are pale, Cara, brown, crystal, chocolate wheat, and rolled oats. The hops are Cascade, and the additions are brown sugar and honey. So black as deep space and dense as a collapsed star. 7 malts with honey and brown sugar add depth and complexity. Bitter chocolate and dark fruit collide with cosmic clouds of red berry and smooth espresso. Nebula, a wonder of the craft beer universe. So yeah, cool artwork on this one. I love the colour scheme. It's sort of like a greyish brown, but then you've got a lovely sort of purple in there as well. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of shiny pogs, like the shiny DIY bootleg pogs that you'd get, like with the metallic finish. Don't know why it reminds me of that. It just does. But yeah, so does it say anything else on the little handout you get with beers? No, it doesn't. So yeah, an Imperial Stout from Brewdog. I can't remember the last one that I had. I've had some of the higher ABV Brewdog beers, like that What Dicky horrific mess, which you won't have seen that review yet. And of course, Paul so graciously bought me a bottle of Sink the Bismarck, which I did indeed sink and made a complete tit of myself whilst we were in Manchester. And yeah, so I've not had too much experience with the Imperial Stouts that Brewdog do. I probably have. I had the something knitting club or something like that when I was in Manchester, and didn't really do much for me. And I thought adding a little bit of chili in there, because chili stouts are a thing, it just didn't make it any better. But hopefully this will be good. So best before date on this one is 9th of the 4th 2019. So using my BMoff snifter glass, and if my arm looks paler than usual, it's because I've not rubbed sun cream in properly. Yes, this time of the year where I have to wear sun cream because I will literally become a lobster. Anyway, let's pour this beer and see what we get. So yeah, it's pouring a little bit like an oil slick, a little bit velvety. Definitely that carbonation. And you can see, as it's getting higher, there's like a film on the top of the beer. Yeah, look at that. It's like you've struck black gold. But yeah, nice little sizzle. No head to speak of, so I'll see if I can generate some. Let me see. Nah, it's not generating any at all, because I'm an idiot, quite frankly. But yeah, that is a dense looking beer. Pretty much jet black, but with some like dark, bitter chocolate, oaky tones to it. And yeah, you can see like the brown around the rim of the glass. But the main body of the beer is very, very dense looking. And yeah, it does look not really thick, but it's got that sort of velvety appearance. Anyway, it's like when you see like a jelly or something, and you'd think that it'd be so dense your finger would just like dip in and you could pull out again, and it just like boom, back to shape. But yeah, it looks really good. So let's see what we get on the nose. Oh yeah. All of those malts are just screaming out, and in harmony though. It's balanced, but it's in your face at the same time. You're definitely getting that honey in there. Big brown sugar notes. Those additives that they've put in there, or additions, additives is the wrong word, definitely make the difference. You get that subtle cascade, But I'd imagine that's just going to attribute more to a bitterness of the beer as opposed to being like a scent. Aroma, that's what I was going for. If you're going to review beers, at least use proper beer terminology, Peter. You've been doing this for how long now? Yeah, it smells lovely. That's really rich. 10% is masked on the nose. It's got that sort of like cakey spiciness there as well. You do get that coffee. It's like coffee with almost like an almond sort of syrup in there. Yeah, it's really nice and sweet but dense at the same time. From the nose and the appearance, this could be a pretty damn good beer, so let's find out. Cheers, guys. Ooh. The body's not as bold as I thought it would be, actually. To me, it's got the sort of body of like a dry stout. Like that sort of like 4.5 to maybe 6% ABV stout. So in the immortal words of the legend that is Paul from PA Brew News, a little bit thin, but that's still a really nice little beer. It's not as sweet as you would expect from the nose, which maybe just I'd like a little bit more sweetness there, because I'm really not getting that honey coming through too much. It's not a really boozy beer. The ABV is masked really nicely, but it's like you get the alcohol on the bitterness, if that makes sense. It's almost got like a woodiness to it. Yeah, it's sort of like when you've got like a bourbon, but it's not really sweet. It's not really got that peatiness to it. You get loads of like spices like star anise, cinnamon, nutmeg, that sort of stuff. A little bit of coffee in there. It is really nice and balanced actually. But sort of like what I was getting with the Jet Trash, it could just be a little bit more. The fact that they've got 7 kinds of malts in this beer, you wouldn't really think it, but then again, like, would 7 different malts really attribute so many unique distinctions from each other, or would some just sort of blend into each other, that sort of thing? It's like when people do these like 8 hop, which I think the Jet Trash was like a multi-hopped beer, and it's like, yeah, well, those hops are somewhat similar, so what's really, the benefit of putting them both together? Would they cancel each other's properties out? I mean, I don't know the science behind brewing, so I'm literally talking out my arse with that. But it's like that with the malt base. I think when you've put that much malt in there, the beer should have, especially with the oats, it should have a bit of a bolder body. I don't need it to be sludgy. I don't need it to be one of those sorts of imperial stouts. But the plus side is, it makes the beer that little bit more drinkable. Which I've actually come to the conclusion, is that a good sign of brewing if a high ABV beer is drinking like a beer that's half or even like a quarter of that ABV? Is that really a good thing? Especially when we're still living in a world where in some parts of America you don't have to put the ABV on a beer on the bottle or the can. And I'm like, why? Just because you don't have to doesn't mean you shouldn't, if that makes sense. Because you could drink this, and it does have telltales of that 10% ABV, but it is masked really nicely. But almost too nicely, if that makes sense. And I don't want to sound like I'm picking on Brewdog, because I like Brewdog. I mean, Elvis juice, if I could have like Elvis juice on tap in my house in exchange of a water supply, sign me up. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe that or Augustina. Yeah, give me, instead of the hot tap, give me Elvis juice, and the cold tap can be fresh Augustina. That's all I need. Just give me a shack. I can make a bed out of leaves and hay. I can eat bugs. You know, I'll live, but just as long as I've got Elvis juice and Augustina on tap. I know Augustina's not a Brewdog beer. It's just the best beer in the world. Sorry. I want it, and I want all of it. It's like that of Elvis juice. So I know that Brewdog brews some fantastic beers. This box overall, the first box, and I know it's the first box, you can't really judge it on one box, but another thing that puts a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth that's not just the beer is the fact that you can get these beers on tap in Brewdog bars. So it sort of takes away that special edge away from it. Hopefully with further boxes, because I have one more coming, the next one. We'll see how that goes if I continue the subscription. I think this would be a great way for Brewdog to be really, really adventurous. And they sort of did that with the Zephyr, which I really enjoyed. The Jet Trash was just, it's like what you could get in a supermarket. And the Nebula, I think it could do with a little bit of tweaking. Because it's a really solid stout, Russian Imperial Stout. But again, it's like one of those classic British Russian Imperial Stouts. You know, I wouldn't want this to be incessantly hoppy. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't want that American influence to it. So it is really nice and British. It's a classic tasting beer. And I think they've done a really good job. But I think they could have just pushed it a little bit further than it is. And I mean, it is only, I imagine it's, because the other two were like version 1 of a beer, which I think they've done the Zephyr before in different variants, and this is a newer variant. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what they would do with this recipe, whether they tweak it or not, replace that certain honey with a different sort of honey. Or, I mean, the brown sugar does add to the beer. I do like that element to it. You can pick that up. It's just with that like impressive selection of malts, I'm not getting that experience that I was expecting. So it's not a bad beer, it's just my expectations going into the beer. And that, you know, you could say that about any beer review. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. I would happily drink this again. It's a lovely beer. It's just, I was expecting a tiny bit more. Lovely char on there, lovely smokiness. Maybe a little bit more sweetness for me personally. And yeah, so I'd be happy to give Nebula an 8 out of 10. I think it's a really good little beer, and I'd be interested to see if they would experiment with this recipe specifically in the future. And I think that's what the fanzine should be about. It should be about being a little bit more adventurous, because you've got your core market sorted, Brewdog. You know, you've got your loyal drinkers who will not only buy your beers in the supermarket on a regular basis, but they will when they can. And I still go to Brewdog bars. I enjoy Brewdog. I like the branding of Brewdog. I like the t-shirts that Brewdog do. I like the atmosphere in some of their bars. I think they have some really great guest lists and some of the beers that you can find in the beer fridges in Brewdog bars. I'll always go to Brewdog. They'll always have a place in what used to be my heart. I don't know what it is now. I think it's like a lump of coal that's just cracking. I don't know. My Jet Black Heart. See, Jet Black Heart, I need to get a can of the nitro of that, because when I had Jet Black Heart in a Brewdog bar, that was just beautiful. So if I can get that in cans, which I know they're starting to sell that now, I'll have to get myself some. But yeah, for a Russian Imperial Stout, I think it's one of those examples where if you're looking for a classically brewed and solidly brewed Russian MP Stout, this is a great example. But with this sort of climate where we're spoilt with the Omnipoyos and all this sort of like, oh, let's put frozen pizza and let's throw money into this beer, and literally money, and, you know, fried chicken and all that sort of stuff, which I'm all for. I love the experimental side of brewing. But yeah, I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about this beer, but As a beer on its own merits, in terms of drinkability and enjoyment, it's an 8 out of 10. So if you've tried this, then let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. What's some of your favourite Brewdog Imperial Stouts? Have you tried the fanzine? What's your feelings about the first box? Would you continue the subscription? Of course, if any of my friends and fellow beer tubers have reviewed any of the beers from this box, then I'll put their links down below. Check out my previous 2 reviews. For £11, I think I've got some good beers there, and it got me free videos to put up on YouTube. So, yeah, I was needing to review more Brewdog beers, and I think this is a good way to get that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, anyway, I've waffled on for way too long. You've been an awesome audience. Check out Brewdog, check out my Brewdog playlist, check out my Imperial Stout playlist, and more importantly, I hope you'll join me next time for another beer review. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm about to go sit in the garden. See you later.